It's time to gather loved ones together for all the holidays' best spread. Lynn's has great prices on all your favorite Thanksgiving items, from delicious turkey with all the fixings to mashed potatoes and yummy pies. We have everything you need to create your perfect Thanksgiving dinner. Whether it's cooking the traditional meal, completely store-bought, or a combination of both, your best holiday meal starts here. Learn more and start shopping today at lynsgrocery.com. Lynn's, where delicious begins.
Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where four friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst global accents.
Global, baby.
Very global. Today we have some extremely special guests. We have Suruthi and Hannah from Redhanded, straight from the UK.
Hello.
From across the pond.
Hello. I don't think our accents will be as good as Amanda just did there, so sorry in advance.
That's
everyone.
really fair. I am royally and professionally trained.
Royally.
The Minnetonka High School theater program.
Bravo.
So
it's globally esteemed
and recognized. Thank you for noticing my incredible accent.
Got a little bit Australian then, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I really did. Oh no. Okay, I'll stop.
We love a tryer.
Anyway, I'm Amanda.
I'm Lucy.
And we're Redhanded. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Suruthi.
And we're really happy to be here.
We're very happy to have you. And we have a very, very special topic for you today. Sort of a fan pick from Jenna Bradley, because Jenna originally wanted a crossover with Redhanded. And I initially was like, there's no way that's ever going to happen.
We can't pull it off. They're too famous. That's like saying, get Angelina Jolie on the phone. And we were like, we'll try. And then somehow she answered.
Yeah.
She should change her number.
It's all right. We're not going through vicious divorces at the moment. So we were like, we'll pop in and we'll do it. Don't worry about getting Angelina.
Thank you for stooping down to our level.
We've got the drinks. We're ready to go.
Hell
Thank
yeah.
God.
We are very excited about this collab, though. Obviously, been doing Redhanded for a fair while. We're well aware of Wine and Crime. I think, when in the early days of Redhanded, we were very much like, look at them doing live shows. What's happening? We need to do this. Yeah, it's just very nice. It's come full circle. And now here we are doing a collaboration. And we don't normally drink on Redhanded, but today I hold in my hand what smells like a very strong alcoholic drink made by my dear friend Hannah here.
Yeah. And
I'm scared.
Enter Hannah's boring bar fact. I spent many, many moons sorrily working behind bars, and I have some martini facts. One is never, ever, ever supposed to shake a martini.
Oh.
Well, that's wild, because this martini recipe that I have is shaken, not stirred, like Bond, baby.
Exactly. And it's actually...
But do they say not to shake it because it waters it down? Is that why they freak out about it?
Yes, because you're supposed to do it 8 one way, 8 the other. But...
Like it's a potion.
Quite.
It is.
The reason Ian Fleming put shaken, not stirred into James Bond is to prove what a twat he is.
Who, James Bond?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Oh.
Well, mission accomplished.
No. So that's why everyone
To
thinks it's fine to
prove-
shake. It's not. But I did shake
What
these.
a twat he is.
Twat and James Bond in the same sentence don't seem natural to me, but
They seem great to me.
In the book, he's just a dickhead. Like, he's just like a very arrogant. And that's like the point he's making. Is that he's so arrogant, he thinks he can shake a martini.
I see.
Well, Hannah, that's your problem. Don't read the book.
Don't read the book. Don't watch the film. Just demand that your martinis be shaken, not stirred.
Yes.
I have cheated, and not only have I shaken them, I've left the ice in because I want them to be cold when we get there.
Yes.
Yeah, right? Do what you gotta do.
That is the motto of our show. Do what you gotta do. So I'm glad we've pulled it in quite so early. Now, yes, we don't normally drink when we're doing shows, like when we're actually recording, like I said, but I am drinking it out of a lovely turbo wine glass that you might be able to see, which is our own merch.
I love it.
Because when we do live shows, Hannah and I do, of course, drink because, there's a lot, show plane. And the drink of choice is, of course, a turbo wine, which is Prosecco mixed with Red Bull.
What?
That is wild.
I'm sure your listeners are gone.
That's turbo wine?
Try it. Try it before
Prosecco
anybody
and
makes
Red
it.
Bull. It's
I'm
like a mimosa.
Definitely trying that.
It is like a trashy mimosa.
Yeah.
There you go.
Kind of methy
I'm
mimosa.
going to write a series of books about a female spy who drinks turbo wine.
Is it going to be Susie Q?
Susie QAnon.
Susie QAnon! No!
Which is my alias on the show.
She's not shaking, not stirred, because she's got so much Red Bull.
She'll go into a bar and she'll be like, I have a mimosa, but I'll have Red Bull instead of orange juice.
Mimosa sub Red Bull, please.
Exactly. She's got a busy day, ladies.
I'm gonna throw up. Well, that's a perfect segue into our little wine pairing today, which, as Hannah nailed, is a martini. This is a Vesper martini, obviously because of James Bond. That twat. And, that's the only thing that the Brits are famous for. So we just had to, throw you guys
a bone.
The word twat or a martini.
Yeah, that. The Vesper martini is not for the faint of heart. It contains a whopping 4 ounces of liquor plus a splash of, if you're making it right, Lillet Blanc, adding an actual wine element to this bad boy. So Lillet Blanc is a French aromatized wine, which is basically just a white wine infused with fruits, herbs, and other botanicals at it's like dealer's choice. Whatever the creator wants to experiment with, they can infuse this white wine with whatever, and then it just makes this very aromatic little jolt that you can add to a cocktail. It's kind of like adding bitters. You don't need much, a little, because of all of that deep infusion of herbs and botanicals. It's pretty strong, so you wouldn't just necessarily sit down and have a glass of Lillet Blanc, but some people drink Malort in Chicago. So what do you know, How you're supposed to whip this up, and this can all be swapped based on preference. You can make this with gin or vodka. This recipe requires both, but you can swap the dominant alcohol depending on your preference. So if you are a gin-leaning martini person, then you would do 3 ounces of gin and 1 ounce of vodka. If you're like me and you're a vodka-leaning martini person, you would do 3 ounces of vodka and 1 ounce of gin. Then a half ounce of that Lillet Blanc, pour it over ice into a shaker and shake that bitch up. Pour it out over a strainer into the glass of your choice, but either a turbo wine glass, as Suruthi has elegantly chosen.
Always be repping.
Or you can be brave and do a martini glass, which is guaranteed to tip over and fall in your lap. It's 10 a.m. where we are.
I was going to ask, are you guys partaking, or is it just us drinking martinis?
Partaking in marijuana, which is legal in our state. Is that not a thing for y'all? Do you have legal weed?
No, we do not have legal weed. It is...
How do you get your weed?
There's a thing called drug dealers.
Illegally.
You do have drug dealers. We have those too.
I have somebody who comes around and leaves little QR codes around my neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
And then...
Okay, that's high tech.
The well-meaning parents of my neighborhood go around and pull them off, but I get them before they pull them off.
Do you have Chapel Roan in the UK?
Yes, we do.
Oh, thank God.
What's that?
We were starting to get scared.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and I also made myself a spot of tea.
Nice.
In my titty mug.
Perfect. So we're all set. We're all set. Thank you for holding down the alcohol fort for us, though. I mean,
I have a granola bar and some water.
I love that for you. So as we discuss in the wine and crime camp of podcasting, we do thematic episodes. Every episode is a themed topic, and then we cover background in psychology pertaining to that topic, if applicable, and a couple of cases pertaining to that topic. So today we are sharing the topic of Bad Brits.
yeah.
And it sounds like Lucy has some information to school our British counterparts on about the great land of Britain.
Okay.
Oh, bring it, Lucy.
I don't know if I'd say schooling.
Yeah, Amanda really set you up there for quite a high bar.
I did.
Yeah. I do have some facts.
Do you know what? I'm not much of a martini drinker, but that's not bad.
Do you know what? I will give it to you.
Thank you.
I do like a martini, but I like more of like a Like I wouldn't order a vesper. That's quite aggressive. Like sometimes if I'm feeling a bit fruity, I might have a dirty martini, a very dirty martini.
I love a dirty Grey Goose martini. That's like a fave.
Yeah. And I know it's a bit basic, but I do like an espresso martini and just ruin my life and have heart palpitations and not sleep for 2 days.
I love an espresso martini.
I do. And if I go to my favorite Thai restaurant in King's Cross, I will have a lychee martini.
They're
or
good.
several. They are very good.
Ooh.
Can I ask why you're so anti-espresso martini and yet you will drink Prosecco and Red Bull?
Believe me, I'm not anti the espresso martini. The espresso martini is anti me.
Anti-you. Got it. Okay.
I
okay.
went through a spate of weddings last summer where espresso martinis always on the menu. It seems like a great idea. Everyone's on the dance floor. You're up till 1. Everyone's having a great time. Next day, violently ill.
Dead.
Yeah. And I'm like,
that's super
never
fair.
again. But as soon as one comes out,
Turbo wine would never do that to you.
it also does. But, the adrenaline keeps you going with the turbo wine.
I feel like turbo wine would inspire like not as much diarrhea as espresso martinis.
Yeah, an espresso martini is going to make you shit, especially if you're a smoker. If you're ripping a heater with an espresso martini, enjoy your night in the bathroom. And Redhanded, welcome to what Wine and Crime is actually about, our bowels.
Diarrhea.
Oh, great.
GI issues.
It is one of my biggest aversions in life, talking about anything bowel related.
Saru does not do toilet chat.
No, I don't do toilet
She won't even say the word fart.
That's all right. It's the great equalizer, and we will try to avoid it for the remainder of our recording. All right, before we hear from the great ladies of Redhanded, let's hear a quick word from our sponsors.
How closely do you track your bank statements
Not.
and your credit card history?
Not.
I'm so bad at it. Are you combing through every single charge on a regular basis, or do you just assume everything is fine until you notice something weird? The latter. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't know. There's a mental block there about watching my accounts that closely. I know it's a poor excuse, but now that I'm using Rocket Money, it does all of that for me, so I don't have to stress about it.
Ugh, it's such a gift. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. With Rocket Money, I have full control over my subscriptions and a clear view of my expenses. I can see all of my subscriptions in one place, and if I see something I don't want, Rocket Money can help me cancel it with a few taps. I love how the dashboard shows me this month's spending compared to last month, so I can clearly see my spending habits. Plus, they'll help me create a custom budget and keep my spending on track. So if I'm saving up for something exciting and fun, I can make that custom budget. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lowering my bills for me by up to 20%. All you have to do is submit a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. They'll deal with customer service for you. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features.
Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/gals. That's rocketmoney.com/gals. rocketmoney.com/gals.
So guys, normally, obviously on Redhanded, it's just Hannah and I telling one story. But today we thought it would be fun, since there's 4 of us hanging out, that we would do a story swap. And as the ladies have already told you, it's on Bad Brits, and we got loads of them. So we have a story, Wine and Crime have a story, and we're going to tell each other. And it's all about Bad Brits, obviously. So I think Lucy's going to go first.
Yeah, well, before we get to the actual case that we prepared, I have some facts about Britain. I don't know if you're familiar with them. And then also, this is part like interview, because I have many questions because y'all are weird.
Oh!
So first of all, British people drink between 100 and 160 million cups of tea every day.
I believe it.
Every day?
And 98% of you add milk to it.
That I like. I like milk in my tea.
So my
I believe
question is, what's with the tea? Why do you like tea so much?
My question is, why?
Yeah.
Because
We love tea.
we really wanted to fuck with the Chinese. That's the genuine answer. We imported quite literally all the tea in China, and we're like, would you rather have this lovely opium that you already have? That's why.
But we already loved it. Everyone just fucking loves tea. But I do have to say, neither of us drink tea. Not English breakfast tea.
Are you coffee drinkers?
We're coffee drinkers. Yeah. So I'm not, I don't partake in the English breakfast Earl Grey tea situation.
I will, this is the most British thing I've ever said in my life, I will accept a cup of tea if I think it's rude not to.
I see. I can actually do you one better on the British tea scale. I will only drink a cup of tea if I'm having a cream tea.
What's a queen tea?
A cream tea.
Oh, cream.
So yeah, when you have a scone and then you have like cream, like clotted cream and jam, and then it comes with a pot of tea. So if I like go out and I'm somewhere very quaint, because I don't just do it like day to day, like I have to be somewhere. If I went to Devon and I was in a nice little cafe and I was like, oh, I want a scone because scones are fucking delicious, and it comes with a pot of tea, I'll drink the tea.
Okay, because you're feeling fancy.
Yeah.
Well, Hannah, to make you feel better, that might be the most British thing. It's also the most Midwestern thing because we have to say no like 5 times before saying yes to something because we feel like we're inconveniencing someone. I had an ex-boyfriend many moons ago who hated coconut, but like I brought him to a friend's birthday dinner at her parents' house, and her mother had like worked all day on this exquisite coconut cake covered in coconut shavings. And he was like a hulky dude, like not like fat, like built. I mean, I don't know how I ever, we were not compatible. That's why we're not together anymore. Anyway, so this like hulking man, she's like, oh, I have to give him the biggest piece of the coconut cake. And I knew he hated coconut cake and I did not save him. I just let him sit there and begrudgingly eat every last bite on that plate, knowing that he fucking hated it. He probably wanted to kill himself in that moment, and he finished that cake because that's what you do in the Midwest.
That's what you do.
You don't offend
that's
anyone.
The truth. We'd even eat it if you're allergic to coconut. Just be like, it's fine. Just somebody take me to hospital afterwards.
Yep.
Your throat's closing.
It's cool. It's cool. This cake is delicious.
It was delicious.
Okay, here's my next question. Can you please explain the difference once and for all between England, Britain, and the UK? Because it's my understanding that the UK is honestly like just with like Scotland, Wales, maybe. How interchangeable do you use these words?
So the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland is 4 countries within 1 country. So that is England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales.
Yes.
That's the United Kingdom.
Yes.
Okay.
They are all apart from Northern Ireland, but I'm not going to get into Northern Irish politics.
But that's why our passports say
yes,
the United Kingdom and the Republic of Northern Ireland. No, what does it say?
It says the Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
That's it. That's what it says on the front of our passports. So that's a thing. Though it is confusing, I will admit, because Hannah and I went to Scotland a couple of years ago and we got the train there. Didn't take my passport. I'm like, I know it's a different country, but it's part of the UK. I'm fine. Don't need my passport. We get to Scotland. We have a nice time in Scotland. On the way back, train strike galore because we love that. That's very British. Another British thing you guys can take to the bank. So we were like, fuck it. Let's just book a flight and get the hell home. Book a flight, get to the airport, and the woman's like, where's your passport? And I was like, I haven't got my passport. I was like, why do I need a passport? And she was like, you need a passport to get on the flight, love. And I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
Oh my God.
But I got the train here and nobody asked me. I thought this was what was it? The kingdom of the Great British Kingdom and Republic of Northern Ireland. And she was like, just stop crying. Get on the plane. Get on the plane. Go home.
Just,
then
we're
just
gonna
let you on.
You're obviously not a terrorist. This is so pathetic. Just go.
And I was
Please
able
just
to go home. So yes.
Yeah. So if someone is anyone who is living in, well, born in, citizen of Northern Ireland, England, Wales, and Scotland, they are British citizens and they can call themselves British. However, they will not apart from the English.
Yes, no one calls themselves British except the English.
Yeah, because saying you're English sounds quite nationalistic because of our imperialist past. So it's got someone from Scotland would say I'm Scottish, a Welsh person would say they're Welsh.
Yes.
And then
yes, my boyfriend is Welsh,
Sorry.
and my boyfriend is Welsh, and he would never say he was British. He would say he's Welsh. I'm Welsh. I'm of Celtic, and I was like, "Oh, you're British. Shut up.
Get over it.
Oh, we get it. You're Scottish." But we're all like, "Yay, everybody!" And then everyone's like, "Fuck you."
But you would never say you're English.
We want to like everybody, but everyone hates us.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it.
If I do refer to myself as English, it's by accident. But I do say it. But I would prefer to say British.
The more that everyone else hates us, the more I want to say I'm English. Fuck you guys.
Girl, do it. You can say it all you want to us
I know,
because
I am
our
English.
listeners
I'm
are
English.
not gonna care.
There we go. It's out.
And I'm pretty high, so I didn't really understand any of that. I'm just gonna say that you two are British, and I'm not gonna talk about anyone else's nationality or heritage because I'm an American white lady and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Well, this will really spin you out. In South Africa, English means not Afrikaans. So I was there, and it means like white person who is South African but is not an Afrikaner, English speaking. So if I went to, well, as has happened to me in South Africa, and I said, "Oh, I'm English by accident," they went, "No, you fucking not." So that's another one for you.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We know what we are. Does that settle things once and for all?
I mean, no, because it really sounds like you just collectively never decided on anything.
It doesn't come up that much.
Well, the sun never sets on the British Empire.
Yeah, hence the tea thing. Just really wanted to fuck over the Chinese.
We were never asked in South Africa. They knew exactly where we were from immediately. And we were on our best behavior. It's just the second a fucking
Were
American
we?
opens. Well, I would say we were.
Remember we went to that bar that one night and had like 49 Springbockies each and made
Yes,
friends
because they were
with those.
delicious.
They were delicious.
It's
Anyway.
basically, it was like a white Russian with creme de menthe. It was so good.
As a shot, they were delicious.
Yeah, we made a
my
lot of
God.
friends. But the second an American opens their mouth anywhere else but Canada, people are like, oh. And even Canadians are like, oh. And they're notoriously really nice. And you know what? We earned it. We deserve it. You Brits are talking about how everybody hates you. Really?
Oh, no. Everyone only hates us in the United Kingdom, the English.
Oh, okay, no. Well, everyone hates us in the world, and they should.
I love Americans. I'm not having it. I love Americans. Love you guys. You're great.
All right, listen.
I won't hear a word against you.
I can smell your bullshit from here.
Nah, we love it. We love coming to America.
That was a paid advertisement for America. Anyway, as we record this, Joe Biden just dropped out of the race. Fucking Trump got shot in the ear last week. You guys just had an election on the 4th, right?
Let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it.
Oh, aren't you sad?
We came so unprepared without any questions for you guys about
That's
America.
okay. Don't worry about it.
We have questions in our case for you. But do you have
Love
any other questions for us? Well, you've got two Brits on the line.
Yeah, I have a bunch. Here we go. Okay, so did you know that Queen Elizabeth II didn't even have a passport?
That's very Suruthi coded.
Yeah.
Kind of is.
Yeah. I
Even
like
though she visited over 100 different countries. And this is because passports are issued in the name of the queen.
Yeah.
So apparently giving one to herself was like a step too far.
Yeah.
Or she forgot it every time, and the airport security every time was like,
Just
bitch, we know
go.
who you are. Just go.
You're on every piece of money around here.
And she still is. They haven't changed the money because they don't think Charles is going to be around for very long.
Oh my God, I love that. We'll just wait. We'll just hold off and just see what happens.
I mean, he's looking real crusty.
I don't want to pay to print out the money and then have the guy die. That just doesn't make any sense.
It is a waste of money. It's very inefficient. Let's just wait and see what happens.
Yes.
What are your feelings about haggis?
Delicious.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you know what? You just don't want to know what's in it. But that's the same with any sausage.
Isn't it just like a stomach filled with a bunch of cool shit?
I'm going to tell you exactly what's in it.
It's basically a hot dog.
It's not a hot dog.
If you buy a real cheap hot dog.
Haggis is literally banned in the United States because the USDA doesn't like us eating animal lungs.
Oh, it's lungs?
There's lungs in there.
If
Cool.
you kill it, eat it all. Eat it all.
Yeah.
I think it's good. Like, you're going to kill the animal. You might as well eat its lungs.
Eat the lungs.
Smaller government.
Yeah. I think if you genuinely like read what's in haggis, it will put you off for the rest of your life. But
I've read what's in sausage. I'm ready. I'm going to try it.
have a nice little haggis canapé. Delicious.
Is it just like a mixture mush, or is it like, what does it look like?
Isn't it in like a seal, like a sheep stomach casing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they like cut it up.
So it looks like a sausage?
I had to eat fried haggis. It makes it better.
I've had a haggis spring roll.
Yum.
That sounds nice.
Ooh, I would try that.
When I've seen haggis, it's been like the size of like a small meatloaf. It's not like a little cylinder.
Like a placenta.
Oh, and actually, when we went to Scotland, we had haggis and whiskey sauce
Oh, we did.
on some mash or some tatties. Is that what they call it? Yeah.
Yes, they call them neeps and tatties.
We call these tatties in the U.S.
Tatties are potatoes and neeps are turnips. And
That's
that's called a
really cute.
Burns supper. Haggis, neeps, and tatties.
Great.
Your dialect is
Nicknames.
ridiculous. I love it.
Adorable.
Here's a fun fact. I hope you didn't know this because I was very delighted by this. So 10 Downing Street is where the Prime Minister lives. The last private resident to live there moved out in the early 1730s, and his name was Mr. Chicken.
Give Mr. Chicken's family their house back.
Did you guys know that?
No.
I did, yeah.
Who's Mr. Chicken?
He just owned it and he was like, you can have it, mate. The other good thing about 10 Downing Street is the door only opens from the inside because there's always someone in there.
Like the cat.
Weird. Yeah, the cat.
They have a cat. What's the cat called? Fred? There's a cat.
Who's the cat?
At number 10
Does
Downing
it belong to whoever your prime minister
Street.
is
It
right now?
belongs to the building. So whoever is the prime minister, it's Larry the cat. But look, this is all just like quaint bullshit they used to distract us from how poor our governance is. So
1,000%. We get
cat.
that too. We get it.
I feel like the monarchy is among that quaint bullshit. Am I allowed to say that? Are you guys offended by that?
Like, no, I actually think whenever we've slagged off the monarchy on this show, it's actually like people from the Commonwealth that
Absolutely.
get more angry than Brits. I really don't think like many British people would be upset at us for slagging off the monarchy. Because I'm like, I pay my taxes. I pay for them. I'm allowed to say whatever I want about them. But for some
What the
reason,
fuck is the
there's always
Commonwealth?
Australians and New Zealanders who get very upset with us when we slag off.
Yeah. The Commonwealth is a collection of countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, who used to be ours.
Yeah.
But we still are friends, kind of.
The monarchy is still like the king or queen
Like
is still there.
symbolic for them.
Yeah, so they are still like, because we have a constitutional monarchy, the like king doesn't actually have any power. He's just like a figurehead. So he is also the royal figurehead for Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. So yes, when we do say things about them, it's only them that get upset. No one here.
Yeah, I can guarantee that when Big Liz died, there was not a single British person camping outside Buckingham Palace. They were all from the Commonwealth.
Big Liz.
Americans just don't really understand it. I feel like the closest thing we have to it is just like our run-of-the-mill Hollywood celebrity. We watch them very closely. They're essentially symbolic representatives of like American success and wealth. And we're obsessed with their lives and their families and where they go and what they do. So like we understand that. I guess we pay for it out of just our own pocket, not necessarily taxpayer dollars. But yeah, I guess that's our version of it.
I do enjoy how much people in the US are obsessed with the royals, British royals though. My
When
favorite
Will
thing
and
is
Kate got married, I got up at 3:30 in the morning to go to this place in downtown Minneapolis called Brits Pub. It's a British pub where they opened early to host a screening of the royal wedding, and so I went.
Well,
I would
Pippa Middleton
never.
has a fucking great ass. I don't blame you.
So there you go.
Yeah.
And look,
She does have a fucking great house.
we will dine out on it. All right. If everybody's watching it and paying their cut, I'll take the money for our economy. But my favorite thing when I go to the US is when I'm at an American airport is to go to a Hudson News and just look at the magazine collection.
The royals are always in there somewhere.
Yeah.
At least 10 of the front covers will have Princess Diana on it. And I'm like, what's happening?
Oh, we are still
What's happening?
obsessed with her. She is our Roman Empire. I know she's yours.
Have her. Everyone have whatever you want. I don't begrudge
Americans
you.
are obsessed with Lady Di. We love her.
We know.
I'm going to get emotional.
She's my Roman Empire too. I think about her twice a week at least.
I love her so
Twice a week.
much. The way, I don't know if it was the same across the pond, but the way Americans went absolutely batshit cuckle-fuck insane for the Lady Di Beanie Baby with the little white rose on it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Some of us still have them in air-sealed boxes.
Yeah.
One day it's going to be worth a lot of money.
That's what they keep telling us.
That's what they keep tell us. Okay, so like as you're driving around your country, your kingdom, are you just like not impressed with castles? Because there's like castles everywhere.
Oh, castle fatigue. It's not even just when you're in the UK. One of my things is if you do we are very lucky in that we can do like little mini breaks to Europe. So you could just be like, oh, Thursday evening to Sunday night, I'm going to go to a European country. In fact, Hannah and I, with our team for our summer party, are going for a day trip to Paris tomorrow. Just going in the morning, coming back in the evening. We know we're super lucky to be able to do that.
Going in the morning, coming back in the evening.
Wow.
We're just going to go eat some. We're just going to go eat some patisseries in Paris tomorrow.
I literally can't even go. I got married in a town in my state that's 3 hours north. I can barely go to where I got married in the morning in my own state and come back in the evening.
Oh,
the U.S. is fucking
it's gonna be
huge.
easy. Yeah. No, we're very
We
lucky.
also have a shit train system. We don't
Yeah,
have
We do
like
too. Our
train
rails,
is very
national
nice.
rails, don't even get me started. You don't want to get
It's
too British
awful.
about the trains.
No.
We're going on Eurostar tomorrow, and before everyone thinks we're super bougie, we're going on a Tuesday, and we got a very good flash sale deal, and we worked out doing a day out in London, it'll cost the same as if we just went to Paris and do our summer party there. So that's why we're doing it.
I'm really happy for you.
We support this wholeheartedly.
But I do know one of my things is if I do like a little, 3-day trip to Europe, or once I went interrailing for like 10 days and I went to 3 European cities with my friend. And after like the first 3 days, you're just like, oh, I don't want to see another square, another church, or another castle. That's all we've got. That's it. So yes, castle fatigue is a real thing. It is a real thing.
Oh my God, I love this.
But I do enjoy watching Americans lose their shit over castles.
Oh, we love a castle.
Yeah.
You have to remember that, like, everything here, we had a lot of beautiful architecture from the early days, right? And then in, like, the 1970s and 80s, every city was like, get rid of all of these fugly brownstones and this beautiful brickwork, and let's just make everything concrete. And, like, vinyl.
Boxy.
And then everybody was like, oh my God, that's a really good idea. And now we have some of the most hideous city blocks in the fucking world. Something unique about us is we're gonna try to upgrade things until we fucking ruin them.
Yeah.
Nice. You got to keep trying. You got to keep pushing. But one of my favorite things is I was in New York once and I did like a walking tour. And this lady who was taking us on the walking tour was like, and I'm not going to try to do the accent because I'm going to upset people. But she was basically like,
To your left is the oldest bar in New York.
yeah, she was
It
like,
was built in 1971.
This sidewalk is 100 years old. And then everyone was taking pictures of the pavement. And I was like, it's older than that. I don't care. It was so...
My grandmother was older than that sidewalk.
But no, you guys have got great shit. You've got so much choice. That's one thing Hannah and I love when we come to the US. You're like, oh, I really fancy like some nuts. Maybe I'll just pop into the shop and get myself some nuts for the long train journey or flight journey we've got. You go in and I'm like, where's she gone? She's been gone for hours. I'm like, yeah, because one of us is just standing in an aisle staring at the 150 flavors of nuts that you have. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, you can't just say, I'm going to get some nuts, okay?
Got salted, you got plain. That's all you've got. You've got like ranch flavor.
Dry roasted?
Oh, yeah.
Chipotle, roasted, honey roasted.
I like those blue almonds with like the
diamond.
The blue diamond, the smoky blue diamond almonds. Oh,
I appreciate and fear the level of choice you have simultaneously.
yeah, well, I mean,
It's made us collectively just piss miserable as a nation.
we have so much option overwhelm. As an ADHDer, going in, wanting some nuts and seeing a wall fucking covered in nuts,
It's too much.
could just evaporate.
Yeah.
Like, that is too fucking much.
Imagine how we feel.
Ugh.
Yeah. Last night I was going to Shakespeare on the Lawn, actually. We saw Midsummer Night's Dream, and it was
Did you do
lovely.
that intentionally right before this episode so you would seem really cultured and...
No, because we were supposed to record this last week.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
We were out of bug spray, and so I was like, okay, we have to stop at Walgreens on the way for bug spray. And I was driving, and Corey was like, I'll just run in and grab some. You can wait in the car. And I said, no, because I want to observe the selection of bug spray and choose the one that I want.
And go down the Squishmallow aisle.
Yes, I definitely did that.
And did you get
because
one?
I couldn't find the bug spray. No.
Oh, fair. Okay. That's all right.
I need to cut myself off from the Squishmallows. I gotta grow up.
You have a kid now. You're a mother now. No more
I'm a
Squishmallows.
mother now. I
Yeah.
can't buy them for myself anymore.
Do you have Squishmallows over there? Do you know what those are?
I was going to ask, but I was afraid of looking stupid.
Yeah, no, I don't
They're
know.
like-
they're
they're
stuffed
stuffed
animals. But I use two as pillows because they're
marshmallow.
so absurdly soft that like no
quite
pillow has ever provided for me what Squishmallows have. I sleep on a stuffed iced matcha latte and a giant stuffed purple llama.
That's hilarious.
In fact, let me read you a text message my husband sent for me yesterday, 2 days ago, because I was having a terrible, terrible time traveling. I was traveling during that like IT tech server
Microsoft
outage.
thing.
And so it took me 100 years to get home from New Jersey. And my husband is an angel and was putting together a series of surprises for me at home, which included brand new sheets that he bought and he's put on the bed. But he was asking me, like, where are your pillows? Do you not have any pillows? I'm trying to put fresh pillowcases on them. And I responded, I only have Squishmallows. And he said, you don't have real pillows? Explains why I couldn't find them. I'm like, bitch, you sleep in the bed with me every night. You know I don't have real pillows. I said, I used to, but they just get smushed into the headboard. I don't know where I threw them. Probably in one of the closet cubbies or in my dresser. And he said, all good. I just didn't know you were Squish exclusive. And I said, I'm just tragic and mentally ill. So, yeah, Squishmallows are a big deal here.
Wow.
Here,
heard of
meaning
it.
in the Jacobson Hoban household.
Got it.
And in the Fitzgerald Wendell household.
That's true. I do
You have more than I do. I'm
I
just
don't-
more committed to mine.
Ladies, let's
I'm
not
a better
argue
mother.
about who's got more Squishmallows.
We're
'cause Hannah and
fighting.
I
We're fighting.
still don't fully understand
We're
what it is.
both tragic
But we're
and
happy
mentally
for
ill.
you. Whatever you've got to do it.
Okay, I have two more quick fun facts, and then I have just a tiny little story for you.
Okay.
Okay, did you know that British birds and British cows have regional accents? They have
did know that.
dialectical variations.
I did know this. It must be the same in America, though.
I was just going to say that.
Because
yeah.
it actually, I don't know about specific birds and cows, but I do know that household pets can have different accents influenced by how their owners
Makes sense.
speak. So maybe that's the same for like birds hearing what's being said in the region and like the farmers that are tending to the cows, how they sound.
Makes sense. Must be.
Well, my next fun fact has to do with the size of the UK. It's quite small. It's quite condensed. It's also very old. So I feel like your dialects are like more entrenched and therefore stronger in like more concentrated pockets.
I only care about the Cockney accent. It's the best accent in the fucking world.
Do it.
I love it so much.
Do it.
What, mate? Oi, mate. That kind of shit. I don't know.
Nailed
It just sounds completely absurd and I'm obsessed with
Nailed
it.
it.
Hannah, do
Nailed
it.
it.
Come on. Give me just one.
One of you
just,
has
just
to
the
do
tip.
it.
Just one little Cockney.
At the apples and pears.
There you go. Great.
I feel like Jean Parmesan just appeared behind me. I love it so much.
Okay. So did you know that the United States is 40 times bigger than the UK?
Believe it.
That makes sense.
I do have an absurd looking graphic.
Oh,
It's labeled absurd graphic.
That's rough.
The state of Michigan is bigger than the United Kingdom. Michigan.
Wow.
And Alaska is the size of 7 UKs.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Well, there you go.
I didn't realize how small it was.
Y'all are petite.
Oh, there you go. Makes me even more proud to be English. Look at all the stuff we've achieved.
For the death grip you guys have on the Commonwealth.
Take it.
But yeah, it's just a giant map of the US, and then the UK is just itty bitty right in the middle. There's like a little splash of it in Iowa, splash of it in Kansas. Your ass is hanging in Arkansas.
Lovely.
It's
Wow.
delightful.
Your ass is hanging in Arkansas.
I want a squishy mallow of that map, please.
Done.
There we go.
There
Done.
we go. There it is.
That's all I need. So if someone could make that for me and send it to my house, that would be wonderful.
I bet we
We
can.
will get Squishmallow on the horn.
Mr. Mellow. Okay, I got like a really mini dive for us because one of my facts was that Stonehenge was built as a cemetery during the Bronze Age,
Wow.
which makes them older than the pyramids.
Damn.
Wow, yeah. And they still don't know how they built them.
No, but we know something about them. And here is my story. Okay, so this is a really bizarre case, and there's also some excellent names in it. Okay, so Cecil Chub was born on
Nice.
April 14th, 1876, an Aries, in the village of Shrewton, which is about 4 miles west of Stonehenge. So he grew up right next to Stonehenge. He came from a line of saddle makers, but he was interested in law and politics. He met his wife at a cricket game, and they married in 1902. Cecil became a barrister, which, as we learned not too long ago, is an attorney.
Correct.
Didn't know what a fucking barrister was before that.
You did, because we've done like a Bad Barristers episode. and we
That's
talked
when I
about this.
learned what it was.
Oh, right. Okay.
And amassed a considerable fortune while his wife's uncle owned a mental asylum called Fisherton House, which is now called Fountain Way, which she inherited after his death. So he and his wife basically own a mental asylum, and he's a wealthy barrister on his own too. Cecil became chairman of the hospital, and during his reign, it became the largest private mental hospital in Europe. Yikes. He also served on the Salisbury City Council and was a justice of the peace, and they also owned racehorses and bred shorthorn cattle. They're rich, they're weird. That's what all of this means.
The
Key
long and
takeaway.
short of it.
Nice. Chub, rich, weird.
Yes.
Chub, rich, weird.
Chub, rich, weird. By 1911, they're living in a really nice house with their 2 children, John and Mary, and 8 servants.
Only 8.
Okay. In 1915, legend has it that Mrs. Chubb sent Cecil out to the local auction house to buy some dining room chairs. It just so happened to be the same day that Sir Cosmo Gordon Antrobus was auctioning off Stonehenge after inheriting the estate from his brother. Have you guys heard about this?
No, I've never heard this case before or any of these people.
Okay. No Chubb?
No, I don't want no chub.
I don't know Chub.
Chubb is a guy.
A chub is a guy that can't get no love from me.
Okay, so he's auctioning off the estate that includes Stonehenge. On a whim, Cecil Chubb bought it for 6,600 pounds, which would be about 874,000 US dollars today. Just, he was there for chairs. It's like going to Target. You go for laundry detergent. You come out with
an ancient monument.
Yeah, an ancient monument. So it might surprise you to know that Stonehenge had been privately owned since the 12th century. The site was in absolute shambles. I also have pictures of that, with several of the rocks tipping over or like fully fallen over. It was really messy. It's sad to look at. People had been chipping off chunks and carving their names in it for probably centuries. There was just crap all around it, including a full, like, then abandoned military airfield from World War I.
Oh, weird.
But Cecil had loved Stonehenge his whole life, and just 3 years after purchasing it, he gifted it to the nation. So he bought it,
Not gonna lie,
kind of
Cecil
cleaned it
Chub
up.
can kind of get it. He's kind of hot.
Cecil Chub is kind of hot, yeah.
Yeah.
His wife's
Do
pretty
you have a
cute,
picture,
too.
or do you just mean because he gave the monument to the country?
No, there
Both,
are pictures.
but there are pictures of him.
Okay, we're Googling. We're furiously
Sir
Googling.
Cecil Chub.
Let's see.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, he's like hot. But then I feel like, and hear me out, I feel like everyone and their granddad looks really hot in black and white olden timey pictures.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. It's very
Doesn't
forgiving.
Everyone's granddad looks super hot in like those wartime pictures. Because I think it's because they're in a like army uniform. It's black and white. They're like, the quality of the lens is probably not very good. Everyone looks super fit.
It's not high def.
No.
Also, we are projecting onto these people that they're like old and wise, but in a lot of those war photos, they're like 19, but like have seen some shit.
19, shell-shocked, terrified, not having a good time.
Weirdly hot.
So hot,
Weirdly
though. Your granddad's so hot.
The trauma shows, and it's sexy.
Weirdly hot. Yeah.
My grandma looks exactly like Elizabeth Moss, and I will send the picture to you. To
Hannah's
prove it.
Yes.
grandma
Need it.
does look exactly
Love a hot grandma.
like Elizabeth Moss.
I love a hot grandma. For real.
So Chub gifts Stonehenge to the nation. A handing over ceremony was held in October 1918, and Cecil received a knighthood in return. And his special coat of arms, because he's a knight now, features a trilithon, which are those three big stones, like the two vertical and the one horizontal. That's what you think of when you think of Stonehenge. So his little custom coat of arms has a little
Is
Stonehenge on it.
I love it.
Dude.
Sir
I
Cecil
love
Chub died in his home in London in 1934. The site underwent major repairs throughout the 20th century, and now she looks fabulous. So thanks, Chubbs. And I didn't know that it was privately owned I never thought about it. But
No.
privately
I
owned
didn't
until
know.
1911
That's wild.
or
I didn't know
1918.
And
That
I
is
can
crazy.
guarantee that you don't know that Suruthi Bala and I have also pissed on it.
Yeah. Not near it.
Near
Naughty
it.
Near it.
girls.
We didn't piss on it.
Bad Brits. Bad Brits.
Bad Brits.
We've got some sort of anti-druid agenda. No. We urgently, out of urgent desperation, they're in sight of Stonehenge. I could see Stonehenge while I was pissing publicly.
That's
just
magical. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Jealous.
I love an outdoor whiz in a majestic setting. You didn't hurt
What's
anybody.
wonderful is that it's opposite Europe's biggest pig farm. No one talks about that, so it also stinks of pig.
Driving around, we were like, we're going to go past Stonehenge. And I've never actually been to Stonehenge. And yeah, neither of us had. And we were like, should we just pop into Stonehenge since we're driving past it? And we're like, yeah, that'll be fun. We get there and we're like, oh my God, it's fucking closed. Why is it closed? As if it's closed. And we also thought there'll also be toilets there because both of us need a wee. It's closed, so we don't go in. And then we just had to pull up on the side of the road and wee because I was going to literally piss myself in the car.
But
So-
you could, even though the park was quote unquote closed, you could still see it from where you were peeing.
on the
so
other
it wasn't
side
a
of the road.
complete
You can
loss.
see it from the road.
You can see it from the road, yeah.
Good.
Oh my God.
But the best thing about that was we pissed on the side of the road and we realized that we were like, we'll leave. What did we do? We left the car doors open and we were like, oh, no one will be able to see us if we open the car doors. But obviously, as a lady, I did squat down. And as soon as I squatted down, I was like, doesn't matter that the car doors are open. Everyone can see me on this motorway that everyone is driving past. Everyone is looking at my vagina. But I started weeing at that point, and I was like, there's no
But they
end
can't
to
see
this
your
now.
face, so
They can't see my face. You're right. Though I'm quite
A little
sure they can
anonymous.
probably see my face.
I mean, similarly, I've had diarrhea on the Jersey Turnpike in a drainage ditch, so been there. But
Similarly.
I couldn't see Stonehenge from where I was squatting. So you really had a nice. You didn't piss
We did.
on Stonehenge. You pissed
No.
at Stonehenge.
Yes, but
Exactly.
So Amanda's
Exactly.
experience significantly less magical. But
Exactly. I could see my mom sitting in her car from where I
you go.
was. Not as
Momhenge.
majestic as Stonehenge, but Momhenge. She did guide me. Anyway,
All right. Well, that's my little story and some facts for you.
All right, guys. Bad Brits. We are two bad Brits, and we have got a story about some bad Brits for you to start things off. So we're going to tell you all about some batshit crazy case that happened here.
it's batshit, but it's also quite quaint.
Yes.
So
Okay.
we thought you would enjoy it.
Uh-huh.
I love it.
What we're going to do is we're going to tell you the story of the insane goings-on inside Pottery Cottage in 1977, sorry, in the Peak District. How aware of you of the Peak District?
0%. Is it near Broadchurch?
Is
'Cause
it
I've
on
watched that
West
show.
End?
It's very, very far from Broadchurch. The Peak
Okay.
District is up north in the UK, and it is a very beautiful area of outstanding natural beauty. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. You can go hiking, lots of peaks, as you can imagine. It's very nice.
Okay.
I love it.
Before we continue, I have to ask both of you
Yes.
to say Pottery Cottage in a British accent.
Okay, gladly. Pottery Cottage.
Very good.
Pottery Cottage.
Oh, that was really good.
9 out of 10. Sorry,
I feel
Amanda.
like Mrs. Potts. That's fine. That's fair. I never said my accent was good. I said it was perfect. But thank you.
I love how you say it like Lucy sits around saying her surname in a British accent all the time, just in case.
I think Mrs. Potts from Beauty and the Beast has to live in Pottery Cottage.
Angela
She does.
Lansbury.
You can think that.
Yes.
Angela Lansbury.
Angela Lansbury.
Great. It's getting a little bit ropey, guys, but I appreciate the
Pottery
effort.
Cottage. Pottery Cottage.
Pottery Cottage.
Just outstanding.
Spending the weekend with my mates in Pottery Cottage.
Looking at peaks.
Papers and paints.
I'm so glad I have
Okay,
this.
we'll stop. We'll stop. We'll stop. We are not going to absorb any red-handed listeners from this crossover.
No.
We've offended all of them.
You have all of the choice in the world here, ladies. Continue.
So, surely, no matter how you say it, nothing bad could ever happen in Pottery Cottage. But, my friends, you are wrong. The story we picked out for you is actually so wild that we're going to have to rattle through a million other crimes before we even start.
Yes. Okay.
The story begins in the early hours of Sunday, the 22nd of August, 1976, when a man stumbled into, you're going to like this one, Beatwell Street Police Station in Chesterfield, with his head and face covered in blood. The man who was eventually arrested for the violent attack would carry out just 6 months later a daring prison escape at knife point, a convoluted hostage situation, and a dramatic police chase ending in gunfire, which for us doesn't happen very often.
I was literally just going to say, that's just another Tuesday in America. You're speaking our language.
It's Tuesday, isn't it?
Down at the Pottery Barn.
Yeah.
Tuesday, innit?
Tuesday, isn't it?
And this whole escapade shook the entire area so much that in 1977, in that particular area of the Peak District, it is still referred to as the Year of the Knife.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
So dramatic.
Drama queens.
We're nothing if not dramatic as a nation.
Right. Do either of you know what Chesterfield is?
I've heard it. But if you asked me right now, like you just did, I couldn't tell you.
Fair enough. It's okay. It's
Is
okay.
it a gun?
We're going to leave our story hanging for, just a hot sec while we set the scene.
Okay.
So like I said, the Peak District is a national park, and it actually covers around 500 square miles of our very tiny island.
Thank you for converting to miles for us. We appreciate that.
We do miles.
We do miles as well.
Oh,
Unless you're running and then it's
Not
kilometers.
kilometers.
Yeah, we like to mix things up.
Oh, Jesus.
We're just like, don't use the same thing all the time.
No one's running a kilometer.
As if I could run a kilometer.
So I know that I did refer to the Peak District earlier as being up north. And I went to university in Birmingham. And when I first arrived there, I kept being like, oh my God, up north. And everyone was like, we're in the Midlands. We're in the middle. We're in the Midlands. Stop saying we're up north. I now understand that. But just to confirm, it is up north from where we are, but it is not technically in the north of England. It is slap bang pretty much in the middle of the country. So the Midlands.
We would never do that to you in Minnesota because we say up north also. And that's like up north can be halfway up the state.
Yeah.
Got it. I appreciate that.
Basically anywhere north of White Bear Lake is up north.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea what that means.
It's halfway
That's
up.
fine. It's Chesterfield.
People get very funny about it. It incites passions.
Yes, it does. So let's get it right. Let's set the record
Okay.
straight for our British listeners. So basically, the Peak District, it separates the cities of Manchester to the west and Sheffield to the east.
Manchester, soccer.
There you go.
United.
Recognize it. Exactly. So today we are in Chesterfield. That's more on the Sheffield side. So accent-wise, we're more Sean Bean and Louis Tomlinson than Oasis.
Oh,
Thank you for using those specific references because that makes perfect sense.
yep.
I'm
Yep.
so
Yup.
glad. I'm so glad.
I can hear it in my mind's ear.
I think it's perfect. Do you guys want to attempt to do a Sheffield accent? Hannah,
I can only think of Mr. Sheffield from The Nanny.
can you say you know nothing Jon Snow in a Sheffield accent?
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
That's it.
more like this. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
I'm Lily Ellen.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Points for everybody. Okay, so the landscape. Now we've got the accent, nailed down. The landscape, just in case you guys want to visualize it with your minds, inspired books like Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre. So rugged,
Oh,
the Peak
windy.
District. It's windy, it's wild, it's not
Cloudy.
bleak's not the word, but you know what I mean. It's
it's like
rough,
damp.
and heavy. So yeah,
Damp.
wild,
Foggy.
untamed, all that good stuff.
Lots of orphans.
Sometimes.
No, they all. So now we've set the scene for you. Let's get back to our bloody-faced man who staggered into that police station and reported a crime. To this day, we only know him as Mr. K. What else we know about him is that he was a labourer. And that night, he had been out to a discotheque, because we are in the 70s and that's what we called them. He was dancing away to all sorts of glam rock hits with his girlfriend, who we'll call Ms. C. And they bumped into a super drunk lone man who became quite clingy, so they obviously just left. It's happened to all of us. It's happened to the best of us. And on their way, they saw a closed leisure centre, and being 20 and 21, they hopped the wall to go and get off with each other.
I don't think they know what a leisure centre is.
I don't know if they know what get off means.
I think they're fucking.
What's a leisure
and
center?
Is a leisure center like a rest stop? Like somewhere to go to the bathroom? No. Is it a spa?
Leisure centre is like, if you live in like a decent sized town, you will have at least one leisure centre, and it will be like where there's a swimming pool, and there'll be like,
A gym.
a gym.
Oh,
there'll
right,
be
yeah,
like
a rec
maybe-
center.
A rec center. Yeah, we have those. Recreational center. I love that. That's very fancy.
And get off doesn't mean sex.
It doesn't?
It just means snog.
No. Yeah, it's just, I got off with him. But like that,
Just
it's not,
kissing with tongues.
Making out.
Get off is just kissing in
Yeah,
for the
it's making
Brits?
out. Yeah.
Getting off here is mostly masturbation or just coming.
Coming.
No, if you got off with somebody, you just snogged them.
Yeah, we don't always get off with someone, but
I see. I see. Look, we're bridging the cultural divide.
But when we do, it's magic.
Somehow, they get into the leisure centre that's closed to get off with each other. And while they were kissing by the swimming pool, Mr. K was suddenly hit over the back of the head with a brick. Very hard.
Jesus.
He blacked out completely. And when he came to, his girlfriend, Ms. C, was missing. So he went straight to the police, which is where we started our story.
Good boy.
So when the police searched the leisure centre, they found Miss C distraught in a toilet cubicle, and she had been raped. A manhunt started immediately and made the front page of the local paper, with the headline reading, "Massive Hunt for Vicious Rapist." Soon enough, a man named William Hughes was dobbed in, and the police brought him to the station. He admitted the assault straight away, but swore he only attacked Mr. K in self-defense, and said the woman was responsive to the idea of sex.
That's a quote. We don't think that's a thing that's okay to say.
He said that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
According to the officers who dealt with William Hughes, his eyes were cold and penetrating, which is very poetic for like people who are just interviewing this potential rapist.
Yeah,
We call those dead fish eyes.
The quote is much longer and it is very
Overwrought.
Somebody's been reading Wuthering Heights.
twiddly, yeah.
Twiddly.
I mean, I feel like British reporting, specifically British headlines, are like their own special beast.
Well, this is the cop, right?
I know this isn't a pun, but our tabloids are very good at puns. I think that is one thing they do excel at.
You have
ruining
not
people's
read
lives.
a tabloid until you've read like a British tabloid or like a British crime article.
They're
They
like
are
searing.
wild.
They
Yes.
are not bipartisan.
It's because it's a lot harder to sue someone in this country, so they can basically say what they want.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
we're
love
very
that.
litigious in the US.
Okay.
I think that we had stronger media protection laws in this country. It's why like you can't say very much in this country, which is why they get away with saying loads more there. Like when What's Her Face's book came out, Rebel Wilson, and she had to redact loads of it in the UK because she was going to get sued here. Because they've got freedom of speech under the First Amendment.
We do,
Whatever
however,
it's
there
called.
are some things that are like state by state, which is weird in our country. For
Because we don't have a
example,
constitution, so we don't have it like enshrined anywhere for that. So it's like,
right.
depending on what you say, you could probably get sued quite easily.
And obviously the press works a lot with police, and so it'll also depend on what the state's laws are about what police can say about certain things. That's why we get so many juicy stories out of Florida, because they have different laws
Sunshine
about how
laws,
they're
yeah.
allowed to sunshine laws about how they're allowed to interact with the press. So that's why like Florida Man exists.
Yes. Cool. So, they're describing this guy very poetically. Cold, penetrating eyes has William Hughes. And although he was cooperative and polite, he refused to admit to the rape of Miss C.
Yeah, so the brick he has no problem with. He's like, but I did not rape her. So who is this man we're talking about? He was the eldest of 6 children, born in Lancashire, which is the other side of the peaks to Chesterfield. But since his dad was in the army, he had one of those classic globe-trotting army kid upbringings. He lived in Germany and in Hong Kong until his dad got drunk and crashed an army vehicle and then obviously was dishonorably discharged.
Whoops.
After that, back in the UK, money was tight for the Hughes family. And while both of his parents were out trying to earn a crust, little Billy Hughes had to stay at home and take care of his 5 siblings. But this early responsibility didn't do that much for him. At school, he was a total prick. He also had a reputation for never backing down. He always answered back to teachers, and if his classmates made fun of his height, which he was very sensitive about, he would go absolutely mental.
It will happen. So while still at school, Billy Hughes became infatuated with his life's true passion, crime. He started stealing from shops, and when he left school at 15, he started robbing cars, breaking into houses, and constantly getting into fights. And he bloody loved it. He would talk about it non-stop, the crimes he had done and the ones he was planning on doing next, so he wasn't very tight-lipped. And this is where we have to rattle through his rap sheet a little bit, because over the next 15 years, Hughes was constantly in and out of incarceration.
Oh, damn.
He started off in reform schools, then borstalls, then graduated to big boy prison. Do you guys know what borstal is?
Bar stool?
A bar stool.
It sounds like juvie, like juvenile detention, but
Yeah, kind of. It's like a school where you send
troubled youth.
troubled children that have been involved with something criminal,
Yep.
I guess.
Okay.
And they live there
Yes.
because they're detained.
Yes.
Juvie.
I also feel like they're like really old. Too.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I think
yeah.
we've had them for hundreds of years.
Yes.
Kids have been bad for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know that Chokey from Matilda?
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Because many borstalls in the UK, so these reform quote-unquote schools for delinquent children, if we want to say that, had chokies in them as a punishment.
Oh my God.
Real bad shit going on here.
Not great.
And little Billy Hughes spent a lot of his time inside, silently working out in his cell. He also got a nice collection of very shit prison tattoos, including love and hate on his knuckles, the classic.
Incredible.
He got an
Incredible.
ex-girlfriend's name, Diana, you'll be glad to hear,
Lady Di.
on his chest.
You can always play that off as a Lady Di tattoo. That's actually really smart.
It is. That's a good
We have a
one. If you're
Diana
gonna
in
get a
our
name,
case,
just
too.
get Diana on it.
Yeah.
And finally, the classic cool boy that he thought he was, he got a bloody fanged snake covering his back.
Sick. I have a
Wow.
snake, but not on my back.
Is it in your pants?
No, it's on my leg. It's so big that it can't fit in my pants, so it has to go down my leg.
Nice. And fun fact for everybody, because William Hughes was once held at Risley Remand Centre near Warrington, just 3 days before Ian Brady and Myra Hindley arrived there.
Uh-oh.
Yep. So they're infamous.
Who are we talking about?
So Ian and Myra, just in case anyone's confused, they are, of course, the Moors murderers, the infamous Moors murderers. So they were at the same prison that Billy Hughes was at just 3
Got
days
it.
after he got there.
Okay.
Despite being in prison basically all the time, Billy still had time for the ladies. In 1972, Hughes married a woman called Jean Nadin, who had a daughter from a previous marriage. And Jean was also fresh out of prison. So it's nice to have common interests and things in common.
Common rap sheet.
Jean found out that she was pregnant just 6 weeks after she met Billy. So make of that what you will.
That is a nightmare.
And fair warning, this bit is absolutely sick. When that baby was born, 3 days after coming home from hospital, Hughes held the baby by the neck and threatened to drop her if Jean didn't make him breakfast.
Oh my God.
Yeah, bad guy. And a few years later, when his stepdaughter was 5, Billy fractured her ribs in a fit of rage. So that is the kind of man that we are dealing with here.
Jesus
I
Christ.
just cannot fathom. I mean, there are so many kinds of evil people in the world, but people who harm children are like a next level of evil.
Yeah. What kind of not disgusted me more, but disgusted me nonetheless, was that for breaking his own 5-year-old daughter's ribs, he did 6 months.
Of course. That feels very American as well.
God.
A few years down the line, he broke into an ex-girlfriend's house and attacked her and her housemates with an axe. When the police arrived, he was placidly sitting down, having asked his victims to make him, can you guess,
Breakfast.
a cup of tea.
Oh, fuck.
Fuckers and their tea.
And we're doing nothing to dispel the tea drinking stereotype in this country because the book on this case, A Cup of Tea, happens literally every 3 pages. So we're not helping the cause at all.
I think you're too far gone.
And despite all of this enormous rap sheet and many, many more that we're not going to tell you about because we don't have time, Hughes just kept getting parole. Because when he was on the inside, He was a model prisoner, a quiet, studious, obedient inmate who became an expert chess player and a talented painter.
Oh, well, great.
Ooh, that's creepy.
He has so much to contribute to society. Let's keep letting him out.
So, to dig a little bit deeper into our profile here, despite his attacks on family members, Hughes's criminal record was mostly marked by violence against authority figures or strangers, often seemingly uncontrollable. He was almost always under the influence of drink or drugs, but still managed to be a calm and convincing liar. And he never, ever, ever accepted responsibility for his actions.
So, in our story, 30-year-old Billy Hughes has been handed in, who was nicknamed Mad Billy by the press.
Not their finest work.
Scathing.
Scathing.
Searing.
He's specifically in the press for the rape and assault at the leisure centre that night that we started with. And because of those accusations, he was jailed once again. But more importantly, when Mad Billy arrived at HMP Leicester, do you know what HMP stands for?
His Majesty Priestess.
Police.
Close, so close.
So close.
Only the P is wrong. So if you're sent to prison, you're sent there at His Majesty's, or previously Her Majesty's.
Privilege. Promise.
So close.
Personage.
Pleasure.
Pleasure. Never would have guessed that.
My first guess was priestess.
You are incarcerated at Her Majesty's pleasure.
Exactly.
Incredible.
To get her off.
Yuck. I don't want to think about Big Liz getting off.
We must get off Her Majesty. So use HMP in a sentence. Is it just like RSVP?
Amanda did it.
No, so he was sent to HMP Leicester.
He was incarcerated
You're going to be incarcerated at Her Majesty's, His Majesty's pleasure.
at HMP.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all of our prisons start with HMP. So it's like just like HMP, insert name of prison.
It makes HM sound sadistic.
That's wild.
I love it.
So when he finally was incarcerated at Her Majesty's pleasure...
It's me, the fact-check fairy. You thought I was gone. I was never gone. I was just waiting. I told them, after they recorded this, that HMP does not stand for Her Majesty's pleasure, His Majesty's pleasure. It stands for His or Her Majesty's prison. However, because they're stubborn, they wouldn't listen to me, and they decided to leave it in because, let's face it, it is quite funny. So that's why that is. Reserve your tweets for me, the fact-check fairy. Good luck finding me.
He was listed on his induction form that he presented an exceptional risk on the following 3 grounds. He was likely to try and escape, he was of a violent nature, and he also had suicidal tendencies. And then we have to assume that this form was then slid directly into a bin.
Cool.
After a few months inside, Hughes was declared a Category B prisoner. And as per his own repeated requests, he was allowed a job in the prison kitchens, which was
Bad news.
a mistake. On the 3rd of December 1976, a 7-inch boning knife disappeared from the kitchens. And it was never recovered.
And on Wednesday, the 12th of January, William Hughes was due to be transported to Chesterfield Crown Court to face those leisure centre charges. It was a freezing January morning. We're talking sub-zero temperatures. And the worst snowfall that the UK had had in over 50 years. Hughes had already been taken to court at least 6 times since he'd arrived in custody. Each time, he'd head to reception, change into civilian clothes, undergo a thorough search, and step into the back of an armoured van to be taken to court. But not this time. This time, the prison ordered for him a taxi. Hughes dressed for the occasion and put on quite the outfit. He had a blue pinstripe suit, a floral tie, and a white silk waistcoat.
Sounds like he's getting married.
What an asshole.
And he also had quite the accessory with him. It was, of course, that 7-inch knife. And he had it wrapped up in his underwear.
Next to his hog.
At least it wasn't in his ass.
Yeah.
That's true. I'm glad of that.
I can't confirm that.
No.
Yeah, I guess we don't know.
Wrapped up in his underwear that he was wearing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Possibly.
He had it between the cheeks.
Yes.
Risky. Very risky.
Careful sitting.
So why was there no full strip search?
Good
or
question.
An armoured vehicle, as there usually were? As Amanda said, it is an excellent question, and I'm very proud of myself for asking it. The answer is mostly that the prison was overcrowded and underfunded. So the staff just didn't do proper checks.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, that's still an ongoing problem.
Oh, yeah, it is here too.
Yeah. We recently had a situation here in the UK. Where was it? Wandsworth. Yeah, so HMP Wandsworth, a very big prison here in the UK, recently had a review because of something I will come on to. And obviously it was found to be absolutely overcrowded. I think there was also it was riddled with rats and cockroaches and all sorts of horrible shit. But the reason it got this inquiry and the reason it hit the headlines was because one of the guards there, a female guard, had sexual relations with I want to say a guest, an inmate, while another inmate filmed her having sex with him in their cell. And then
Get your bag.
On social media. And she then tried to run away. She was caught at the airport trying to flee the country. So,
Good for her. Good for her.
Life ruined.
Well,
Yep. Yeah.
it was a victimless crime.
She's the victim. She's not the victim because she did it, but she's the one that's going to lose everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and also the governor quit before the inquiry even started because he was like, yes, bad hit.
What a fucking mess.
I'm out.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
And on top of all of that, Hughes's crime had just been written down as rape. They didn't mention the breaking and entering or the brick. So it didn't really convey just how violent and opportunistic he was as a person. So with all of that in mind, Hughes was put in the back of a cab and handcuffed to a prison warder called Kevin Simmons, who used to be a lorry driver and an amateur boxer. You don't say lorry, do you?
Like a taxi? Is that?
No, it's a truck.
Oh,
Truck.
a truck. No, yeah, truck.
HGV. So Hughes is handcuffed to this Ken character, and that meant that one of his hands was sneakily completely free. In the front seats of the taxi were Warden Donald Sprinter and a minicab driver called David Reynolds. And as they drove, Hughes chatted with them about fishing and sports. On the way to court, Billy Hughes asked for a toilet stop, and Simmons waited outside the cubicle for him. While Hughes was in the loo, masked by the sounds of flushing and chain clinking, he managed to transfer the knife in his pants to his jacket pocket. And I mean pants as in underwear. Inside.
Yep.
Underpants.
Then they all got back in the cab. And as they turned onto a slip road to Chesterfield, Hughes saw his opportunity and pounced. He lurched forwards and buried his underwear knife into Warden Sprinter's neck.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my God.
He's not here to play.
No.
He is serious.
And if the blood loss won't kill him, the infection from the booty knife sure will. So it's a double hit.
This is true. They should have really had this on his risk assessment. Likely to escape.
Yeah.
Likely to
Booty knife.
possibly try to kill himself and will stab you in the neck. Be careful.
With a booty knife.
So yeah, he's done it and with a booty knife. And then Hughes turned his attention to Simmons, who he was handcuffed to in the back seat.
Oh my God.
And he slashed his neck and jaw with the same knife.
Holy shit.
Then he shouted at the cab driver to keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that guy's like, I'm not paid enough. I'll just do what you want.
I keep going.
I'm not going to be a hero.
I've seen nothing.
Absolutely. Please.
The back of my head is not covered in other people's blood. It's fine. I've seen nothing. I'll take
I'm
you wherever
good.
you want to go.
This isn't even the worst shift I've ever had.
Be on your way, sir.
It's Tuesday, isn't it?
So he's a Cockney taxi driver up in Chesterfield. Got it.
Absolutely.
So eventually they reach a silent rural road, and Hughes forced everyone out of the cab and drove himself off, leaving his victims bleeding on the side of the road. Now, in case we had forgotten, it was snowing. Loads. So it didn't take long for Hughes to lose control of the taxi and smash it into a stone wall.
A Minnesotan would never.
Stonehenge.
That would have been really cool if our stories had linked up.
That would have been amazing.
Should we just pretend? He smashed it into Stonehenge.
And Lucy, a Minnesotan would. I used to play a game in my car called Hit the Snowbank.
On purpose.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We know how to drive in snow, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we do. And we know how to crash.
I see. We don't. So, yeah, once he hits this Stonehenge, Hughes was left with no choice but to continue on foot. He headed out onto the moors in the biting cold in just his silk shirt suit, white waistcoat, and smart shoes.
Dressed like a fucking asshole.
Covered in blood, probably.
Your paisley tie.
Ugh.
God.
And soon enough, he came to a stream. So for some reason, he took off his socks and shoes and waded through the icy water, which I feel like is the opposite of what you should probably do.
It also has absolutely no bearing on the case or story. I just thought it was mental.
It is mental. That is mental.
Well, if the dogs
is
are after
mental.
you, that's how you lose the dog's trail. In cartoons.
It's also how you lose your feet.
Yeah, it's true.
That's also a wives' tale. That's not a guarantee. If it's like a little stream, they can, I mean, in a lot of cases, they can just pick the scent up on the other side. It's harder if you walk like in the river.
Also, if I was like the canine dog handler and the dogs just walked up to a stream and then lost his scent, I'd be like, oh, right, so we get the dogs on the other side of the stream because then his scent continues. Like, it's not rocket science. Who knows? So eventually, Hughes reached the village of Eastmoor and he approached the first house that he saw, the 19th century Pottery Cottage.
Yes,
Pottery
finally,
Cottage.
Pottery Cottage.
I forgot about Pottery Cottage.
It slipped my mind.
I plumb forgot.
Bloody hell, I forgot Pottery Cottage.
Are we appropriating? Yes.
Go for it.
You can have it.
You can have it. Sharing is caring.
I'm probably partly British somewhere in my ancestry, so I'm just going to allow it.
Take it.
No, we're white.
Yeah.
It's fine.
By the time he got to Pottery Cottage, a full investigation had been launched into the whereabouts of Mr. Billy Hughes. The prison officers and cabbie had been seen by a passing vehicle and still seriously bleeding on the side of the road. They were then taken to hospital. And by the way, they all survived. Hooray!
Fucking how?
I don't know.
Antibiotics, baby.
Got the booty germs.
Booty germs, stitches. Damn.
The search started immediately, sniffer dogs and everything. So maybe that is what he was thinking about with the stream. But
Yeah.
the heavy snowfall on the moors made tracking Billy Hughes nearly impossible because it snows here every year. Even though we know it snows, the country shuts down every single time. The trains don't run, the roads are closed, schools are closed. It's a joke.
That's so funny. You wouldn't last 5 minutes in the Midwest. Like sub-zero temperatures in Minnesota are like a 3-month expectation over our winter.
No.
Oh, and we get these things called polar vortexes where it'll be negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit for like 3 weeks straight. You you can barely leave your house.
Oh, wow.
But school does
crazy.
not shut down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Kids
no.
still go to school.
None of that.
Unless school basically only shuts down if it's so cold that waiting for like 5 minutes at the bus stop could literally kill them. That's when school gets closed here.
I like that system. That's a good
Yep.
system.
If you're going to die going to school, which in the US is a risk anyway, because we don't give a fuck about gun laws or regulation, but we will shut school down if it's too cold. At least we have that. I'm bitter and angry. It's fine.
So through the blizzard that we are completely inequipped to deal with as British people, the police managed to search over 200 buildings. They made traffic stops and they even made a plea for information on the telly, but nothing happened. The police were working under the assumption that Billy Hughes had flagged down another car and headed elsewhere. They never considered that Billy Hughes would have taken to the moors on foot, because that is totally mental.
Yeah.
The investigation was serious, but this assumption made early on meant that they were looking in entirely the wrong place.
So, meanwhile, totally undetected, Hughes approached Pottery Cottage and grabbed an axe from the shed. He burst into Pottery Cottage through the open back door put his hand over the mouth of the old woman who was cooking inside, and told her not to scream.
Angela Lansbury!
It's Angela Lansbury. Now in my head, it is Angela Lansbury.
No!
No.
And although she didn't scream, the woman's husband heard the commotion and came in. Hughes pushed him to the floor. He told this poor man that he'd escaped jail and no one would get hurt if they didn't try anything. Then Hughes told the terrified woman to
make him breakfast.
Make him a cup of tea.
A cup of tea,
Yeah.
which she immediately did, being the polite British host that she was. Whilst enjoying his cuppa, Hughes demanded to know who else lived in Pottery Cottage and when they would be back. The lady who'd made him the cup of tea introduced herself, as is polite to do, as Amy Minton, 68 years old, and her husband was 72-year-old Arthur. Amy told Hughes that the pair of them lived in the annex of the cottage, and that their daughter Gillian lived in the main house with their son-in-law, Richard, and their 10-year-old granddaughter, Sarah. Amy, all right, just give him all of the information.
Yeah. I know
It's
politeness
Gillian,
matters.
It's Sarah,
but
it's Richard, everybody is next door. We live here. We've lived here for quite a while. Amy's got no poker face whatsoever.
Amy's lonely and she loves to chat.
And we have a lot of money in the safe under the bed.
Arthur is sick of her bullshit.
We don't trust banks. We keep cash under the mattress in this room here. Here's a gun.
And then, when Gillian came home from work at 3 p.m., Hughes subdued her quickly, probably because Amy had told her exactly what time her daughter would get home.
Yep.
Then, when little Sarah got home from school, the adults told her the strange man's car had broken down and he was just hanging out drinking cups of tea. And, there was nothing wrong, so don't worry, little girl. And they did all sit around drinking tea together for a while, making pretend. But when Gillian's husband, Richard, got home at 6, they dropped the act pretty quickly. Hughes held a knife to Gillian's throat and told Richard to lie on the floor. He tied and gagged them all, and one by one, each member of the family was taken into a different room.
Then the nightmare truly began.
Oh, God.
Hughes went into the room where he'd put the 72-year-old Arthur and stabbed him repeatedly with his butt knife that he still had.
The butt knife.
Then he went through to the annex and in the same state of frenzy stabbed the 10-year-old Sarah to death.
Jesus
Oh my
Christ.
God.
Afterwards, he carried her grandfather's body into the annex and closed the door. And then he went upstairs and asked Gillian, Sarah's mum, to make them all dinner.
Oh my God.
When Gillian asked where the fuck her daughter was,
Yep.
or I'm sure she was too polite to say that, but I think the tone it's implied, Hughes showed her a picture of his own daughter, Nicola, the one he broke the ribs of, and he told her that he would never, ever hurt a little girl. So Gillian went ahead and made dinner, and Hughes took 2 hot plates of food through to the annex, even though Sarah and Arthur were already dead, and he knows that because he killed them. The following morning, Hughes sent Gillian out to drive to the shop on her own to buy him cigarettes and a newspaper. He said that she needed to remember her family and not do anything stupid. And she did not.
On Friday, the 14th of January, after 2 days of hot meals and endless cups of tea, Billy Hughes announced that he was leaving Pottery Cottage. But he said to leave, he needed supplies. So he untied Richard and Gillian and told them to drive him into Chesterfield together, to buy him a camping stove and some cigarettes. He even told them to pick up a book for Sarah while they were out.
Ew.
Oh, that's sick.
Richard, of course, wanted to tell the police, but Gillian said she'd never forgive him if he did. So they did what they were told and returned with Hughes's haul. Hughes packed a bag with the stove, cigs, food, an axe, and a knife. Then he tied Amy and Richard back up and told Gillian to drive him to the next town. But a short way into this drive, Hughes told Gillian that they had to go back to Pottery Cottage because he'd forgotten to bring a map with him.
Oh, for God's sake.
When he got into the cottage, he found that 2 of the hostages were trying to unfasten their bindings, and he completely lost it. In a fit of rage, he stabbed them both repeatedly. He then calmly washed his hands of all of the blood and returned to Gillian in the car. But the car wouldn't start.
Oh my God. And this poor woman has no idea that her whole family is dead inside.
No.
Yeah. Okay, great.
And because the car wouldn't start, Billy Hughes sent a shaking Gillian to her neighbours. And as you pointed out, still completely oblivious to the fate of her entire family up until this point, Gillian was terrified of messing it up. And her neighbours, the Newmans, could tell that something was wrong. Mm-hmm. Gillian told them everything.
That chatty Gillian. Can't resist.
Couple days too late.
Just like her mum.
She told her neighbours that the Moors man, which is what she had decided to call Billy Hughes, had tied up her whole family and was going to kill them all because she doesn't know that he already has. And did the Newmans call the police?
Please say yes.
Did they fuck? Because the Newmans didn't have a phone.
What kind of quaint village where every house has its own name? This is too much. God.
Can you imagine not having a phone?
No.
Like, I hate calling anyone, but my anxiety could never.
It's nice to have the option.
It's the 70s. It's not like there's not electricity.
So that meant the Newmans had to drive to the next farm over to use their phone. And when Hughes saw the Newmans' car speeding out of their garage, he knew exactly what must have happened. But then, almost immediately afterwards, Amy, who is miraculously somehow still alive, staggered out of the house, covered in blood.
Oh my God.
And in full view of Gillian, Hughes knocked Amy, who is in her 60s, she's old, he knocked her out and dragged her out of sight.
Jesus Christ.
And then he told Gillian that he was going to head out on foot and that she was going to go with him.
Oh no.
Oh no.
In time, both of them got to the house of a mechanic called, very fittingly, Ron Frost, and asked for a tow. While standing in the living room, Gillian silently mouthed the words, "Help me," to Ron's wife, Madge. Ron the mechanic offered to drive Hughes and Gillian back to the broken-down car. As they drove, Gillian silently jabbed Ron, asking for help once more. Madge was actually the one to clock this. I mean, she has been trying to mouth something to you for ages, Madge. Like, I feel like, pay attention.
Yeah, and Ron...
Do they have a phone at the mechanic?
Apparently not. They're just like, I'll tow you back there. I'll take you back there. So Madge does clock it. She clocks that Gillian is in trouble, eventually. And Madge does call the police, telling them that, quote, the Moors man, as Gillian had called him, was holding this woman, Gillian, hostage. The police rushed round to Pottery Cottage, and there they found all the lights on and the music blaring from a radio upstairs. The lights were on, but there was no one home. Not a single person in Pottery Cottage was still alive. The carpets were drenched in blood, and there was a corpse in pretty much every room.
God.
Elsewhere, with Ron the mechanic's help, Gillian and Billy Hughes were back on the road, but not for long. A police car spotted them and chased Hughes down. The pursuit caused Hughes to swerve, and he crashed Gillian's car into a wall again. But it's not quite over. Mad Billy wasn't going to go down that easy. He sprang out of the car, dragging Gillian behind him and brandishing an axe. So the police let Billy Hughes drive away in their police car.
Oh my God.
In the next town over, though, better police emptied a local bus of passengers because they knew that Hughes had to be coming through that village sooner or later. So they parked the bus across the street as a roadblock.
And sure enough, the stolen police car with Hughes at the wheel appeared. Seeing the bus too late, Hughes swerved again and crashed again into a street sign, almost instantly.
He sucks at driving in the snow.
He is a bad, bad driver. And obviously, almost instantly, armed officers surrounded the car. Inside, Hughes, who still got Gillian, grabbed her and once again said that he would kill her with his big axe if the police didn't give him another car and leave him alone. Hughes shouted, "Your time's up," and swung the axe hard, directly at Gillian's face.
Oh my God.
Thankfully, an officer leapt through the rear window of the car and knocked the axe off course, saving Gillian's life.
Wow.
God.
And seconds later, another officer fired a shot through the car's window.
That bullet hit Hughes in the temple, but somehow didn't penetrate his skull.
Holy shit.
What?
Yeah, because he's Predator, apparently.
Ugh.
Yikes.
And even a second shot that embedded in his shoulder still did not stop him. It was the third shot that led Hughes to finally collapse. And this was actually the first time in the UK that an escaped prisoner was shot dead by a police officer. And actually, the first time that Derbyshire police had ever shot anyone at all.
Damn.
Very un-American.
Yeah, I wish we could say that.
Gillian escaped with a minor head wound and, of course, major shock. Once in hospital, police told her what had happened. And upon hearing the news, Gillian asked, "There's no one left then?" And then told her what had happened. Her entire family had been murdered.
The chief inspector of the prison service eventually published a 57-page report on the prison's failings. Of particular importance was the missing butt kitchen knife, which prison staff seemed to have looked for and not found and then just gave up.
They didn't, raise any alarms that this knife was missing from a prison?
Doesn't look that way.
Cool.
How quaint.
Great.
And presumably, the use of local minicabs to take violent offenders to court has since been curbed also.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
And the police had their own investigation into how they managed to fail to discover the man keeping a family hostage for 2.5 days. In the end, the shooting of Billy Hughes was considered a justifiable homicide by a court. And the officer who intercepted the axe blow, Chief Inspector Howes, was awarded the Queen's Commendation for brave conduct. So that's kind of fine. I mean, lots of people died, but he got a medal. Is that fine? I don't think it's fine.
If I jumped in front of a woman who was going to get axed in the head, I'd want at least a medal.
I'm fine with that guy getting a medal, to be honest. And I'm super fine with Evil Willie being dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bye, bitch.
Bad Billy.
Exactly. He is.
Fuck him.
So that is, guys, the case of the Pottery Cottage murders, which is harder to say than we've really let come across throughout that story.
Yeah, the year of the knife.
Holy shit. That was wild, y'all.
That was a lot more violent than I thought it would be.
We thought it was quaint. It is quite violent. Violent and quaint. Like Angela Lansbury stories.
I'd say the case you recommended for us is also quaint with a spot of violence. So we can get to that, but first let's take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors.
It's time to gather loved ones together for all the holidays' best spread. Lynn's has great prices on all your favorite Thanksgiving items, from delicious turkey with all the fixings to mashed potatoes and yummy pies. We have everything you need to create your perfect Thanksgiving dinner. Whether it's cooking the traditional meal, completely store-bought, or a combination of both, your best holiday meal starts here. Learn more and start shopping today at linsgrocery.com. Lynn's, where delicious begins.
Okay, so the lovely ladies at Redhanded recommended that we cover the teacup murders.
So much tea.
A very tea-heavy episode.
100 to 160 million cups of tea.
A day.
Every fucking day.
Yeah, so makes sense.
Also, when there's ad breaks in popular soap operas like EastEnders or Coronation Street, the National Grid has to up the ampage in the specific time of the advert break because everyone puts the kettle on.
For their electric kettles.
Oh, yeah, you don't have not so much a thing for you guys, hey?
We have one at our house, and it's the best. Everybody should have one.
I can't believe anyone doesn't.
Yeah. The Brits got that one right. The electric kettle, the best. You have perfect tea temperature or coffee, if you do pour over coffee, water in fucking 2 minutes. It's incredible.
Banging.
Well, that makes perfect sense. All right, let's hear about Graham Young, who was born on September 7th, 1947, a Virgo, to Bessie and Fred Young. He had an older sister named Winifred, Winnie. His mother, Bessie, died from tuberculosis when she was just 14 weeks old, which is very sad.
When he was 14 weeks old.
Yeah. So she had him, and then 14 weeks later, she got TB and she died. And his father, Fred, sent Graham to live with his Aunt Winnie and uncle until his father remarried 2 years later in 1950. Couldn't handle being a single parent. I need a woman in here, then I'll take him back. I can't fucking do this. During those formative years, Graham grew very attached to his Aunt Winnie And who his older sister is named after. And when he went back to live with his father, Fred, and new stepmother Molly, he experienced some major separation anxiety. It wasn't a great transition. In school, he wasn't really making friends with his peers. He got really into chemistry instead. So he was like, I'm just going to make potions and not speak to anyone, which is very loosey coded, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely did the same thing.
He also adopted some more concerning interests. He became fascinated with chemicals, black magic, and Nazis.
Oh.
They do all go hand in hand.
They really do.
Yeah. He also read a bunch of books about notorious murderers. His goth phase was white supremacist and really intense. It was weird. His father, Fred, didn't really seem to see anything seriously wrong with these interests, which, like, Dad, the fuck?
I don't know. Father Nazi stuff, that was basically me.
Yeah, I mean, if it were just the chemistry and black magic, I would be fostering this obsession. It's the Nazis that should have raised a flag of any color, but mostly red.
Yeah. I feel like in middle school, I don't know, I went through a phase where I was fascinated with the Holocaust.
Sure.
But that's not the same thing as being fascinated with Nazis and Hitler.
Exactly. That's
Good to be clear.
Yep. Very good to be clear. So his dad, trying to foster at least the chemistry interest, bought him a chemistry set to indulge what looked like his healthier proclivities to sort of steer him that way. Let's get him away from the Nazis and more towards science, maybe. He got really into this chemistry set to the point where his classmates started calling him the Mad Professor. Y'all like the word mad over there.
Also scathing.
By the time he was 13, Graham was acquiring large amounts of chemicals, specifically poisonous chemicals, by convincing professional chemists that he was much older and was using the chemicals for the purpose of study. In 1961, when Graham was 13, his stepmother Molly started developing very bad stomach issues. We're talking vomiting, diarrhea, really bad stomach pain. Possibly. And his father Fred and his sister Winifred also began suffering from the same elements, weirdly, while little Graham is seeming just fine.
It's the big mistake. It's the rookie error.
You got to poison yourself a little bit so you blend in.
A little bit at least.
Then a classmate named Christopher William develops similar symptoms. And everyone starts to think there's just a weird stomach bug going around. And they kind of just let it go. Nobody dies at this point. They're like, oh, weird, everybody got sick. A little while later, it's now November 1961, his sister Winifred falls extremely ill very quickly. It's on her way to work. She ends up in the hospital. Like, she left for work feeling okay, probably had that cup of tea, and then left. And by the time she's on her way, in the car, she's like, I can't even fucking drive. I'm so sick. She'd been drinking a cup of tea at home, but it tasted weird, so she dumped the rest of it out. She didn't finish it. Oh, she wasn't driving. She was on the train. She was so sick, she began to hallucinate, and she went to the hospital. Doctors discovered traces of belladonna in her system, which, if you've ever seen Practical Magic, can be deadly.
I'm sure in Little Women they put it in their eyes to dilate their pupils.
Yeah.
Yep, it can be used for a lot of medicinal purposes in small amounts without being problematic to your system. But like too much of it, you're fucked. And belladonna is an ancient extract of a deadly nightshade. So Fred, the dad, suspected Graham of having something to do with it, but they couldn't quite prove anything. So he just reprimanded his son and told him to be more careful when messing around with those bloody chemicals. Slap on the wrist. Meanwhile, Graham's behavior grew increasingly bizarre. His fascination with Nazis blew up. Okay, he was not distracted from that by the fucking chemistry set. He began wearing swastikas and idolizing Hitler. His science experiments also had gotten out of control, and he ended up blowing up the kitchen of the family home. I'd be sending him to the bar stool.
Off to the bar stool with you under Her Majesty's pleasure.
Yeah, which is right the fuck now. On April 21st, 1962, when Graham was 14, his stepmother Molly was rushed to the hospital in excruciating pain where she died.
Uh-oh.
Apparently, she was writhing in pain in the garden while Graham just watched, entranced. Doctors attributed her death to a prolapsed cervical disc from a car accident. But as it turns out, Graham had been slowly poisoning her with antimony, but she had developed a tolerance. So it was like building up in her system.
Oh, no.
The night before, he was like, fuck this, I'm going to dose her with thallium to speed things up, and then she died. And she was promptly cremated, so they couldn't even exhume her later and like look into this as if it were more suspicious. The family was like, that's what you wanted. Cervical disc. Bye-bye.
Can you die from a prolapsed disc?
I'm not sure.
I get if it like
Just whatever.
affects your spine, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. There's a lot going on in the spine. I don't fuck with the spine.
So I hear.
Yeah.
Lots of tips there, though. Lots of tips. If you're going to poison people, don't give them really small amounts so that they build up a tolerance, because you're just you're working hard, not smart there. There's lots of problems in the future for you. Also, if you do poison somebody and they start writhing around in pain, much like the poison yourself a little bit, makes you look very suspicious if you don't look concerned. Don't stand there enjoying what's happening.
Entranced.
More concerned. Don't look entranced. Exactly. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Lucy. Look.
He's also 14 years old at this point, which is so gross.
Also, hot tip, don't do this, because at Molly's fucking wake, Graham poisoned another relative.
Oh, dear.
Soon after,
lay low
his
for a bit.
father then became very ill and almost died but survived.
Oh, dear.
By this point, Graham had developed a trusted technique. He would slip the poison into people's tea. And because Brits drink so much goddamn tea, it was open season, baby. This earned him the nickname the teacup poisoner.
Brilliant.
At the wake, he had laced an entire jar of mustard pickle, whatever the fuck that is, with antimony. So many people around this kid are getting sick. And people are like, this is sus. We're going to look into this. There are two different accounts of what happened next, and they very well may both be true. First, it's reported that his beloved Aunt Winnie knew about his fascination with chemistry, poison, and she got suspicious. She had him sent to a psychiatrist who recommended calling the police. Another report said his headmaster had found bottles of various poisonous chemicals in his desk, and the school set up a fake interview with a career advisor who was actually a psychiatrist. Graham went to this interview and revealed an extensive knowledge of poisons, chemicals, and toxicology.
Don't give it away. Don't talk about it. Just say you don't know anything about any poisons.
I mean, he's really bad at this.
Well, I mean, I think, I'm not saying that this guy is like my husband, but I think of my husband who's typically a little bit quieter, but once you get him talking about his hobbies, it's game over. He's going to tell you everything he knows, and he's going to
He's like
love
Amy from Pottery Cottage.
Yes.
No one talks
and this
to him.
kid's 14, so.
And now he's like, somebody wants to talk to me about my favorite ever thing, poison.
Yep.
I know
loads.
Poison.
Poison. Regardless of which or both happened, in May of 1972, the police are finally contacted. Graham is arrested, and he did confess to poisoning his father, stepmother, and Christopher, that friend from school that got sick. He was sent to Broadmoor, the famed high-security psychiatric hospital near Liverpool. And at 14, he was one of the hospital's youngest ever inmates.
Wow.
One of his psychiatrists, Dr. Christopher Fish, F-Y-S-H, recounted that Young told him, quote, "I am missing my antimony. I miss the power it gives me."
Stop it. Don't
I'm giving him a Voldemort. What's his name?
Joffrey?
No. God damn it. Draco Malfoy. My father will hear about this. I'm missing my antimony. Poor desolate Weasleys. I don't know, whatever, Harry Potter. Despite some suspicious poisoning activity during his stay at Broadmoor, it was never proven that he was behind it, although I think him being there and people being poisoned is proof enough.
The poisoner of Broadmoor. We don't know if he's done it.
Can't tell if it's him. One such poisoning resulted in the death of John Barrage by cyanide. This is a quote from biography.com. Quote, Graham claimed to have extracted cyanide from laurel bush leaves, which must have been on the property. But his confession was not taken seriously, and Berridge's death was recorded as a suicide. On other occasions, staff and inmates' drinks were found to have been tampered with, including the introduction of an abrasive sodium compound, commonly called sugar soap, used for preparing painted walls. So it's like paint thinner,
Primer
basically.
or something.
Yeah.
Into a tea urn.
Yeah, I'm currently looking into how to paint kitchen cabinets. You need sugar soap, scrub it down, then paint it. Very useful.
Yep.
Ooh.
It's caustic. That's going to get...
It's like a stripper.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this was found in a tea urn that could have caused mass poisoning had it not been discovered. So people didn't drink that, thank God. He continued to read widely about poisoning, although he began to keep his obsession increasingly well hidden because, like, everyone knew you were doing it. When authorities made it clear that appearing less obsessed would speed up his release. His father, Fred, requested, or maybe demanded, that he never be released from the hospital. I can't deal with him. I couldn't when he was a baby and I was single. I can't now that he's a poisoner, like, Nazi-obsessed weirdo. And despite a nurse reporting that he told her, quote, when I get out, I'm going to kill one person for every year I've spent in this place.
Stop
He
it,
was
Graham.
deemed cured and released within like a year.
Overcrowding.
He had spent 8 months there.
Overcrowding.
Yeah.
They're just like, he's fine.
The underfunding, overcrowding shit.
Out you go.
In the States, it's not underfunding because our prisons are like all fucking privatized and generate a fuck ton of revenue, but they are definitely overcrowded and understaffed for reasons of capitalism. They don't want to pay people. Anyway, that's a whole other day. Graham gets out. He goes to live with his sister Winifred and her husband, Hemel Hempstead, and he quickly got back. Hemel Hempstead.
Oh, there's a nice aqua splash there.
Yeah. That's also where I used to go and do my sports days.
I don't know what that means, but that's really cute.
Aqua splash is it's a water park, an inside water park where you can go and
Have a birthday party when you're 8.
yeah, you can go swimming and there's like a Burger King inside.
Or when you're 37.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't meet until we were in our 20s, but we both had birthdays at that aqua splash in our youth.
If you grew up anywhere in this area, that's where you went.
All right. Well, so you're aware.
It's also got a magic roundabout.
I love how every little town has a thing. You guys
Claim
are
to
just like,
fame.
oh yes, the aqua splash.
Whether
Oh,
it's
yes,
Stonehenge
the
or an
Potter's
aqua
Cottage.
splash.
Hemel Hempstead also has a magic roundabout.
Oh.
What does
What
that
happens
mean?
when you use it?
So there's a big roundabout, and then around the roundabout, like a flower, are mini roundabouts. So you have to do the mini roundabouts and the big roundabouts all at the same time, and it's very stressful.
That sounds fucking awful.
It is, truly. I have never done it correctly,
Yeah.
ever.
Because you guys don't like roundabouts at the best of times, do you?
I mean, it depends. If you learn to
Depends how I'm
drive
feeling.
in cities on the East Coast, like Boston has a lot of roundabouts, and people learn to drive there, and then they know how to fucking use them.
It's
Now they're trying to
really-
put them...
It's very polarizing in the Midwest.
It's polarizing in the Midwest because we had never had them. And in the last like decade, they've been putting them everywhere. My family's all in the Boston area, so I'm familiar with roundabouts and know how to use them. People here do not fucking know how to use them. And then they stop and get scared and don't understand the merge. It's bad. It's very polarizing.
It's hilarious.
It is. So Graham goes to the aqua splash in Hemel Hempstead.
Yeah.
Upon his release, he quickly gets back on his bullshit. He's poisoning left and right. He purchases antimony because he missed it. And this is a metalloid that is often powdered and used in cosmetics and medicine. So it's not like incredibly hard to acquire. He also bought thallium, which is a toxic heavy metal that is water soluble. It can also be in the form of salts and aerosols. And he got these from a London chemist. On paper, Graham was a real go-getter. He attended a storekeeping training course in Slough, or is it Slough?
Slough.
Got
Come
it.
friendly bonds and fall on Slough. It isn't fit for humans now. Is a really famous poet. Blah, blah, blah.
Wow, I love that.
I just love everything that comes out of your mouth.
I really do too.
It's also where the UK office is set. It's in Slough.
No way! So while he was taking this training course in Slough, he stayed at a hotel in nearby Kippenham. There, he made friends with a 34-year-old guy named Trevor Sparks. They'd have drinks together. Bad idea. And one night, Graham gave him a glass of water, and he soon fell violently ill.
Oh,
He's
Graham.
got diarrhea. He's got pins and needles in his legs. He's got pain in his balls. It's not
Are we
good.
sure it wasn't an espresso martini?
Oh my God. Saruti's been like,
A turbo
I've
wine.
had these symptoms. My balls have never recovered. Over the next few months, he would periodically get these symptoms again, and he could not figure out why. Doctors thought it could have been a UTI or a kidney infection, but regardless, Trevor moved away from Slough and miraculously recovered. Shortly
I don't want to say
thereafter,
bad shit about Slough, but you've said it for me.
it could have just been the water. Let's be real. Shortly thereafter, Graham got a job at, of all fucking places, a lab that manufactured infrared lenses for military equipment. And this equipment was made from fucking thallium. So he had so much access to this metalloid now. He went to work at John Hadland Laboratories. His coworkers were aware of his stay at Broadmoor, but didn't know the details. They didn't know why he was there. And he was there as a minor. So if it were in the US, I would imagine that would be like concealed information to protect anonymity. I don't know if they have the same thing in Britain, but it's possible that that information was not publicly available because of his age when he was put into that.
They also didn't have the internet, so like,
True.
who's
it's the
gonna
70s.
call if they even have phones and
No, it's
like
true.
figure out?
No one's going to look into this. As such, when Graham was super eager to get everyone tea and coffee throughout the day, they just thought he was being such a nice guy. And each employee also had their own specific mug that they used to get their drinks throughout the day. So he would like know exactly who's drinking from what cup. Soon, a mysterious sickness swept through the lab.
So are we saying another takeaway from this story is if you work in an office, much like if you're scared of getting kidnapped, don't use the same route every day. Do not use the same mug every day in case there is an office poisoner.
I don't think it really mattered in this case because I think he was poisoning the source.
I see.
But it's maybe the takeaway is bring your own
Make your own
beverages
tea.
from home, make your own tea. Don't trust the super nice guy who's, for whatever reason, very eager to be like the beverage errand boy. Who likes that job?
Got it.
I was a
Tip.
bartender and I don't like that job.
Tips all round.
Yeah. They all, once again, like last mass poisoning, assumed a bug was going around, which was dubbed the Bovington bug. And it wasn't until an employee named Bob Eggle, age 59, fully fucking died that people got suspicious. Bob was super sick while he was working, and then he'd get better with a little time spent at home. Like he'd take a couple days off because he wasn't feeling well, only to get sick again when he came back to work.
So these people all work in this place that has
This lab.
a lot of this poison kicking around because of what they're manufacturing, and yet nobody knows the signs of poisoning of that material. That's not happened. Okay, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Please continue.
His condition worsened until he finally died on July 7th of 1971. Graham is about 23 years old at this point. Eggle's death was attributed to a rare form of neuropathy called Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a real thing, but wrong. That's not what did it. While Bob was out of office during his bouts of illness, his assistant, Ron Hewitt, would take over. Ron had at this point accepted a position at another company and was working through his 2 weeks' notice. Graham would be Ron's replacement. And Ron, had the bug as well. But after he left to go to this new job, he's perfectly fine. As a result of Bob's absence, after Ron's departure, Graham is appointed head storeman for just a few months. It's like, somebody's got to have this fucking job. May as well be Graham, the coffee guy. Another coworker, Diana Smart, mysteriously got sick every time she annoyed Graham. Let's get specific. So here's where the specific cup was helpful for Graham. Because even if he was like, okay, I don't want to get caught, I'm going to lay off mass poisoning all my coworkers, but Diana's being a real bitch, so I'm going to go after her cup. Two other workers, David Tilson and Jethro Batt, fell seriously ill in October of 1971. Graham was putting extra sugar in people's coffee to mask the taste of the thallium, and David was not a fan, so he wasn't drinking it. But Graham persisted, and David ended up in the hospital with numb legs, difficulty breathing, and chest pains.
And sore balls.
And sore ass balls. His skin was so sensitive to the touch that he couldn't even stand the weight of bed sheets in the hospital, which, like, as someone on the autism spectrum with mostly sensory symptoms, I can viscerally feel that, like, in my nervous system. He was also losing all of his hair. He was like, it was falling out in clumps. He recovered after some time in the hospital, you know, not being poisoned. But the poisoning caused permanent impotence. So, like, if he had ever wanted to have children, it's kind of game over. Something similar happened to Jethro, who had been actual friends with Graham, who later expressed regret at trying to kill one of his actual friends. So Graham has a little bit of regret in him. Soon after Bob's death, another employee named Fred Biggs, who was 56 at the time, began experiencing mysterious and horrible symptoms. After the typical chest pains, etc., his central nervous system deteriorated to the point that he could not speak and had trouble breathing, and his skin began to peel off. This shit is so fucked up.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, mercifully, in this scenario, Fred passed away in November of 1971. I mean, what a painful and horrific death these people experience. I like.
It reminds me of like
around it.
Radiation poisoning.
Yes,
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Like it burn. Yeah, it sounds fucking horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
He had been experiencing these similar symptoms as Bob and Jethro and David and about 70 other employees. So people are nervous and they are suspicious. I would just assume like, okay, we need to do a serious like inventory audit of like where the chemicals are going. Cause I would immediately be like, oh my God, something's like leaking into the water or
They haven't even connected it to
they
that,
haven't
though,
even
have
connected
they?
it at this
Well,
point.
they're about to.
Yeah, they're about to.
About time.
Finally.
So it was okay. And because he was a murderous man, Graham just couldn't help himself, even though everyone around him is now freaking out and like they're obviously on high alert about these issues.
He's obviously enjoying it by this point, right? Because if he
1000%.
really just wanted to kill these people for some reason because they were annoying co-workers or whatever, like he could have just done it much more quickly. He's doing it slowly because he's enjoying the confusion and the paranoia and the fear
and the power that he has
and the slow death. Because again, if you really want to poison somebody, you could choose a poison that is a lot more efficient
immediate.
and fast acting and immediate. But he's choosing one that is particularly brutal and agonizing and slow. So yeah, I mean, it speaks so much to his psychopathology that he is just drawing this out as much as he can.
I think he's also a fucking narcissist who wants to be the smartest person in the room because he also does this. He asks the staff doctor why they didn't suspect thallium poisoning because the cause of the illnesses and deaths
Yeah.
have these symptoms and it's used on site.
I mean, he's like those firefighters that set fires and then turn up at the scene and then they're the hero. It's such a like savior complex. He's rolling into this whole poisoner angle he's got going.
This suggestion struck the doctor as odd because Graham was just a storeman. He wasn't like in the lab working with these chemicals, but he knew so much about toxicology. In addition to the fact that Graham himself never got sick, as he himself reported to his supervisor. Like, I haven't been sick, but could it be this?
At least if you're not going to go through with the commitment of poisoning yourself,
Pretend.
at least act sick.
Yes.
Think about it.
Yeah.
So the staff doctor, thankfully, contacts the police and a background check is done on Graham, which exposes his history as a poisoner. Graham was arrested on November 20th, 1971. He maintained his innocence, but as he was being led away, his Aunt Winnie heard him ask one of the officers, quote, "Which one is it you're doing me for?" Like, which death, which murder?
Which one did you catch me for?
Right.
Did they not check his poisoning record before they gave him the job at the poison-filled factory?
No. It doesn't sound like background checks were standard, and the fact that they knew he was at Barstool or whatever was probably because Broadchurch was because he provided that information as in like a show of good faith to be like, yeah,
Sure.
this is my history. I was a troubled teen. I spent a stint here, but like I'm reformed and I'm super into chemistry and Nazis, so you should totally hire me. But yeah, so his room at his apartment is searched, and the police find quite a lot of thallium and antimony, plus a ton of Nazi paraphernalia. They also found, which is my favorite thing when perps do this, a fucking diary. Dear diary!
Dear diary.
God
Today,
bless.
Diana really pissed me off.
Literally,
So I
Lady
poisoned
Di.
her.
There actually is an entry about her. We'll get to it. He had been keeping this diary the entire time, noting the doses he had administered, their effects, and whether he was going to allow each person to live or die. He was watching them like lab rats as he administered his poisons and took notes on their symptoms.
Yeah.
And then as their symptoms escalated, he would consult his diary and write down like, okay, I'm going to finish this one off.
Yeah.
He also included his victims' initials to identify them in his notes. So thanks, Graham, for being so thorough and making it so easy to put you away. So our girl Diana Smart, this was the entry about her. Quote, Di irritated me yesterday, so I packed her off home with an attack of sickness. I only gave her something to shake her up. I now regret that I didn't give her a larger dose, capable of laying her up for a few days. Little bitch.
A few
days. In interviews after his arrest, Graham said that he deliberately used different poisons in order to confuse doctors. He also boasted of having committed the perfect murder by killing his stepmother, Molly Young. He spent
It's not perfect if you get caught.
Yeah, but he didn't get caught for a really long time. He didn't get caught until he slaughtered half of his coworkers.
Yeah.
I would say it's the pretty good murder. I don't think I'd go perfect.
That's a decent murder. You got away with it for a while. Mm-hmm. You did okay. He spent 20 minutes explaining to the officers the effects that thallium has on the human body because he can't fucking help himself. He's like such a poison nerd. When asked why he had poisoned people who were his friends and colleagues, he responded, I suppose I had ceased to see them as people. At least a part of me had. They were simply guinea pigs. Mm-hmm. This man is sick.
There's a lot of self-awareness at this point, though. He's just
I can appreciate a perpetrator just giving it all up so they don't have to drag the families through a horrific, trial watching them deny everything that was happening. But, like, the damage is done, bitch. You're a piece of shit. Graham was charged with 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, 4 counts of administering poison with intent to injure, and 4 alternative counts of administering poison with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. He did plead not guilty, which made it hard to find a lawyer willing to represent him because it was so obvious that he had done it. Finally, he got a guy named Sir Arthur Irvine QC to represent him. And, oh my God, this is funny. For only me and Lucy, but the lead prosecutor for the prosecution was a man named John Leonard, and we went to high school with a guy named John Leonard. Hi, John. He might be listening. We love you.
Hi, John.
The trial was held at St. Albans Crown Court and began on June 19th, 1972. The prosecution called 75 witnesses to give testimony. So, like, good luck, Graham. Graham himself was the only witness in the defense. Just him defending himself. During the trial.
Not even Winnie.
No, not even his own aunt or sister were gonna fucking stick up for this fucker. During the trial, the cremains of Bob Eggle were analyzed and the results were presented as evidence. They contained a lot of thallium. And this was the first instance of cremated ashes being used as evidence in a murder conviction. Because usually that evidence is destroyed. But there was so fucking much in his system that it survived the process of cremation and they could find it in his cremains. How wild is that?
That's mad.
Truly.
Ugh.
After just an hour and a half, the jury found the teacup poisoner guilty of the 2 counts of murder, plus enough other shit to lock him away for life. Graham asked to be sent to a regular prison and not to be returned to Broadmoor. He was sent to Ashworth Hospital, where he continued to indulge in Nazi material and, like, writings and books. On the night of August 1st, 1990, he was found dead in his cell, and the cause of death was listed as myocardial infarction or a heart attack. But because Graham had no history of heart disease and he was only 42, it has been speculated that he either died by suicide via poison or was murdered by other prisoners or prison staff who didn't feel safe around him, which I don't condone, but I kind of get, because everywhere this guy goes, people get poisoned. Literally, it happened at Broadmoor, so like I'd be nervous too.
Yeah.
I think he poisoned himself.
I think he probably did, but there you go. And if you are interested in seeing a cinematic version of this entire case, there is a 1999 movie called The Young Poisoner's Handbook, and it's about Graham Young, and he also has had his oh God, I hate this. He also has his own wax figure at Madame Tussauds in London.
I bet.
Y'all.
It's in the dungeon, though. It's in like the horror bit.
It's not on display, or you can still go down.
It's in like, it's not on display anymore. Oh.
That's what I'm asking. Is that what in the dungeon
no.
means?
So the dungeon is like, when you go to Madame Tussauds, they have like all of the celebrities, and then they have like a scary bit where they have like British murderers and serial killers and like, you know, executioners and Jack the Ripper and stuff like that. So it's not like, it's not like he's next to Kim Kardashian. He's in like the dungeon part.
Oh God. Well,
thank God. He can stay there.
That's the teacup poisoner, folks.
Wow. That was great.
I've never been to Madame Tussauds, and now I never will.
No.
Same.
I have. It's great, but I haven't been to the one in London.
Don't go.
But Madame Tussauds does a great Nick Cage, let me tell you.
Well, that is
indistinguishable from his normal self.
Oh, that was great. I feel like we really did Bad Brits some justice in this episode.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
Us teaming up today.
Absolutely. We had a great time.
Teaming up.
Oh,
you love a pun. You Brits love a pun.
We do love a pun. That's it. Done. Print it. That was awesome.
Cheerio.
Toodle pip.
Thanks for listening to Wine and Crime. Our cover art is by Danielle Sylvan. Music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell. Editing by Jonathan Camp. Our production manager is Andrea Gardner. For photos and sources, check out our blog at wineandcrimepodcast.com. You can follow us on all the socials at Wine and Crime Pod. If you have questions, answers, or recommendations to share, email us at wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. It is the best way to spread the word. If you'd like to show your support and get access to all sorts of wine-fueled bonus content, visit our Patreon page. Cheers!